Have you ever felt like reality just cracked for a moment? Like the universe skipped a beat, or you saw something that defied all logic? Today, we're diving into the weirdest, most chilling moments people swear were glitches in the Matrix. Sit tight, because once you hear these, you'll start questioning everything around you. Story 1. The Duplicated Stranger. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon. I had just finished a client meeting and decided to stop by a quiet little coffee shop I'd never visited before. One of those indie places with low jazz music playing, soft yellow lights, and the smell of espresso lingering in the air. As I stood in line waiting for my caramel latte, my eyes scanned the room, mostly empty except for a few scattered customers with laptops or books. That's when I saw him. He was sitting alone at a corner table by the window. Tan trench coat, round wire frame glasses, salt and pepper hair. One leg crossed neatly over the other, and in his right hand, a bright red ceramic cup. He was reading a newspaper, the old school kind, and looked like he'd been plucked straight from a vintage photo. Something about him caught my attention, not because I recognized him, but because he seemed too flawless, like someone had generated a default stranger and just dropped him into this scene. My name was called. I picked up my drink and glanced back. He was gone. Not just got up and left gone. Gone. Without sound, without movement, without any trace. Then my heart skipped. Because he wasn't gone. He was now sitting at another table diagonally across the room. Same tan coat. Same red cup. Same crossed leg. But now, he was reading a completely different newspaper. I froze. I scanned the rest of the shop. There was no way he moved across the room in silence, changed newspapers, and settled back down in the time it took me to walk 5 feet to the counter. It felt wrong. Like watching a video glitch, a jump cut, but in real life. I sat down with my coffee, stealing glances at him. He didn't seem aware of me. But everything about him felt copied. As if someone had CTRL plus CD, a man, and CTRL plus V'd him somewhere else in the same timeline. Eventually, I worked up the nerve to ask the barista casually, "Hey, that guy with the red cup, he moved tables, right?" She looked over her shoulder, confused. "What guy?" I pointed. She followed my finger and said, "Oh, him? No, he's been sitting there the whole time. Came in about 20 minutes ago. Hasn't moved once." I didn't know what to say. I turned back to look at him one more time, but the table was empty. Cup gone. Newspaper gone. Just an empty chair and a wiped table, like he had never been there at all. I walked outside, a little dizzy, heart racing. And as I reached my car, I glanced through the cafe window one last time. He was back in the original corner seat, sipping from the red cup, newspaper in hand, as if none of it ever happened. That was the last time I visited that cafe. To this day, I don't know if it was a dream, a trick of the mind, or if I caught a genuine glitch in the Matrix, a rendering error, a duplication event, or something far more unsettling. But one thing is certain. He wasn't just a man in a coffee shop. He was proof that reality doesn't always play by the rules. Story 2. The phone call from the future. I was 15 years old when it happened. A regular Friday evening. My parents were out for dinner, and I was home alone, watching reruns on TV, half listening to the rain tapping on the windows. It was almost 9 p.m. when the landline rang. Not my cell, the dusty, corded phone in the hallway. Something about it ringing at that hour felt off. No one called the landline anymore, except maybe spam or the occasional relative. I picked it up. Hello? There was heavy static on the other end, like an old radio dial stuck between stations. Then, through the crackling distortion, I heard a girl crying. Soft, shaking sobs. And then, she said my name. Not once, not loud. She whispered it. Ava, Ava. The voice was familiar, too familiar. It sounded like my cousin Lily. Same soft tone, same slight lisp. But something was wrong. Her voice was warped, shaky, like it was traveling a long, long way. I remember freezing. My blood turned cold. Then came her words. Don't let him in, please. Ava, don't let him in. And then silence. Just dead air. No goodbye. No click. The line simply died. I stood there for what felt like hours, heart pounding in my chest. I tried calling the number back. No caller ID. I called my aunt immediately. Lily was fine. She was outside, playing with the neighbor's dog, unaware of anything unusual. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. For years, I chalked it up to some weird prank, maybe a crossed line. But deep down, the voice stayed with me. The message burned into my memory. Fast forward 6 years. I was 21 now, living alone. Different city, different life. One night, another storm, eerily similar to the one back then. I was curled up with a book when my cell phone rang. Private number. I let it ring once, twice, and something in me whispered, "Pick it up." I did. The static hit me first. That same old school, warbled interference. Then, the voice. Ava, don't let him in, please. My heart stopped. It was the same voice, the same cry, the same words. Except this time, I understood them. Because not even an hour later, there was a knock on the door. Then banging, loud, aggressive. It was my ex-boyfriend, Jack. I hadn't seen him in months. I had cut off all contact after things turned toxic, violent. And yet, there he was, drunk, slurring my name, demanding to be let in. But I didn't. I stood frozen on the other side of the door, remembering that whisper. Don't let him in. Eventually, the banging stopped. I heard him curse, stumble away. I called the police and locked every door and window. That night, I realized something chilling. The call I got when I was 15 wasn't from Lily. It was from me. A version of me that had lived through something horrific. A version who reached across time, through a phone line, to warn myself. It didn't make sense. But then again, what glitch in the matrix ever does? Sometimes, I still wonder what would have happened if I'd let him in. If I had ignored the call, both of them. Would I still be here? Would I have become the version who made the call in the first place? That's the thing about time. When it breaks, it doesn't always come with a second chance. Story 3. The Looping Man. I've always been a creature of habit. Every morning, without fail, I wake up at 6 a.m., lace up my shoes, and head out for a 6:30 jog. Same stretch of road. Same tall oak trees. Same little breeze from the lake nearby. It's predictable, peaceful, grounding. It gives me time to clear my head before the chaos of the day starts. But one morning, a Tuesday, I remember it clearly. Something strange happened. As I passed the usual bend near the old iron bench, I saw a man walking his dog. He was middle-aged, maybe early 50s, balding, dressed in a gray tracksuit. The dog was a golden retriever, leash held loosely in the man's left hand. As we crossed paths, he gave me a polite nod, that kind of quiet, mutual acknowledgement joggers and walkers give each other. I nodded back and continued on, earbuds in. I didn't think anything of it. Until a minute later, I passed the next bend and saw him again. Same man. Same gray tracksuit. Same golden retriever. Same exact nod. I slowed down, confused. Was there a twin in the neighborhood I didn't know about? A look-alike? A coincidence? I turned back to look. No sign of the first version. Just the second man, continuing down the same trail like nothing had happened. I picked up my pace, heart starting to race a little. And then another minute passed. And there he was again. Third time. Still walking toward me from the same direction. Same calm expression. Same friendly nod. Same barking retriever tugging at the same red leash. My brain screamed, "This isn't possible." He couldn't have looped back in front of me. There were no shortcuts. No alleys. Just a straight jogging trail. Now I was nervous. By the fourth encounter, my skin felt cold, not from the wind, but from knowing something wasn't right. Same man. Same walk. Same posture. Same dog bark, right as we passed. This time, he looked directly into my eyes a second longer, like he knew I noticed. By the fifth time, I took out my phone. I held it low, subtle, and recorded as he approached. I captured the moment, or so I thought. When I got home, I pulled up the video immediately. It was there. A single short clip. Blurry. Grainy. The man walks by once, raises his hand, almost like he's waving. Then gone. No looping. No repeats. No evidence of 5 encounters. Just one man. Once. Like that was the only version the world allowed to be remembered. But I know what I saw. 5 perfect copies. One every 60 seconds. Same step rhythm, same look, same dog bark, like clockwork. No variations. No flaws. Like a programmed loop. I've taken that path dozens of times since. Never saw him again. Sometimes I wonder, was he the glitch? A broken animation rendered over and over, stuck in some background subroutine? Or was I in the loop? And just that once, I became aware of the code repeating. Maybe we pass glitches more often than we think. Maybe the Matrix only lets you notice when it wants you to. All I know is, that morning, reality broke its pattern. And for a moment, I slipped between the lines. Story 4. The Instant Shift. It was an ordinary afternoon. My sister and I had just finished lunch and decided to walk to the corner store to grab some snacks. We were bickering, like sisters do, about something trivial, probably about which chips to buy or who left the milk out. We turned onto our street, still mid-argument, when suddenly, everything changed. And I mean instantly. There was no transition, no build-up, no warning. One moment, it was sunny, a gentle golden afternoon. The next, the sun had dropped so far down the sky, it looked like late evening. Shadows stretched long across the pavement. The color of the sky had shifted, cooler, with hints of violet. The air turned noticeably colder. The noise of birds and distant traffic vanished, replaced by an unnatural stillness. It was as if someone had pressed pause on the world. We slowed to a stop, suddenly alert. Then we started noticing the details. A red sedan that had been parked outside Mr. Harris's house minutes ago, gone. The yellow school bus that was usually idling by the corner at that hour, gone. But the strangest thing, the fence. Our next-door neighbor, the Fergusons, had this old, sky-blue picket fence. It was practically a landmark, weather-worn, slightly chipped. We'd seen it our whole lives. But now, in this strange, quiet version of our street, the fence was white, freshly painted, spotless, not a trace of blue. And the grass around it, short, evenly trimmed, not like the messy yard we saw that very morning. We both stopped walking at the same time. My sister looked at me with wide eyes and whispered, "You saw it too, right?" I nodded slowly. We didn't say another word. Just walked the rest of the way to the store in silence, trying not to panic. We only stayed at the shop for 10 minutes, maybe 15. Grabbed our snacks, paid in cash, walked back. And when we turned back onto our street, everything was back. The light was warm again, golden and familiar. The red car was back in its spot. The yellow school bus, idling as always. And the fence, blue, worn, chipped just as we remembered. I asked my sister again, "You really saw it, right? The white fence?" She looked pale but nodded. It was like we were somewhere else, same street, different version. We told our parents. They laughed, said we must have imagined it. But the feeling never left us. That eerie silence, the drop in sunlight, the wrong version of a place we knew like the back of our hands. Was it a time slip? A jump to a parallel version of our neighborhood? Or had the simulation stuttered, momentarily loading us into another render of reality? It only lasted 15 minutes, but it left a permanent crack in how I see the world. Now, every time I walk that street, I wonder if I'll blink and wake up in the other version again. And what if, one day, I can't come back? Story 5. The Disappearing Friend. Back in college, I had a friend named Josh. We weren't best friends, but we were consistent. We'd meet up every Thursday at this small cafe just off campus. We'd grab coffee, crack dumb jokes, talk about assignments, and sometimes just sit in silence with our laptops open. It was comfortable. Josh wasn't loud or flashy, just one of those quiet, grounded people who you always felt at ease around. He liked black coffee, no sugar. Always wore this frayed hoodie with a faded comic book logo. He had a weird laugh, kind of like a goat trying to cough. We used to make fun of it all the time. Then one Thursday morning, he didn't show up. I waited 15 minutes, sipping my coffee. No big deal, I figured. Maybe he overslept. Maybe he bailed. So I texted him, "Hey, where you at?" The message bounced back. "Number not in service." Weird. Maybe he changed his number? I checked Instagram. Stop. His entire profile vanished. Not deactivated. Not private. Non-existent. Okay. Maybe he deleted it. I tried Facebook. Nothing. No trace. Not even our old tagged photos. I started feeling a weird pressure in my chest. So I opened my camera roll. I knew I had at least 3 photos with Josh from earlier that semester. Our group at the science fair. Late-night study sessions. That random karaoke night. But when I scrolled through, Josh wasn't in any of them. I remember he stood next to me in one of the pictures, right next to Emma, wearing his stupid hoodie. But now, there was just empty space. A gap between us. Like someone had erased him pixel by pixel. I panicked. I called Emma. Hey, do you remember Josh? From physics lab? She paused. Who? You know Josh. Tall guy. Kinda awkward. Always wore that old Marvel hoodie. No idea who you're talking about. I called Alex, Sarah, our whole circle. No one remembered him. Not even the professor. And Josh literally presented our joint project just 3 weeks ago. They all insisted I had done the project alone. But I remember him. His laugh. His handwriting. His terrible taste in music. The way he always stirred his coffee even after all the sugar had settled. I started wondering, was I losing my mind? But then I remembered something. Something I still can't explain. That last day we met, 1 week before he disappeared, we had this weird conversation. He asked me, "Do you ever feel like you're not supposed to be here? Like reality made a mistake letting you exist?" I laughed it off. I thought he was just being dramatic. But now I wonder if that wasn't a random question. What if Josh knew? What if he wasn't supposed to be here? What if reality corrected itself and removed him? Clean, surgical, like deleting a corrupted file. Or worse. What if he was never really real at all? Just a temporary placeholder character the simulation inserted into my life to serve a purpose, and once it was done, it hit delete. Sometimes I still dream about him. In the cafe across from me. Smiling, sipping his black coffee. And then, just like before, he fades away. Story 6. The elevator that didn't exist. I work in a modern glass-covered corporate office building, 8 floors total. Polished tile floors. LED lighting. The kind of place where everything smells like carpet cleaner and ambition. My office is on the 4th floor. Every day after lunch, like clockwork, I take the elevator up from the lobby. Same elevator. Same panel. Same ding. Routine. But this day broke that routine. It started like any other. I grabbed lunch from the deli down the street, came back to the building, nodded at security, and stepped into the elevator. I hit the 4 button like always. The lights flickered briefly, just a soft blink like power hiccuped. The kind you almost don't notice. The elevator stopped. The doors slid open. But immediately, I knew something was off. The hallway was darker. Not pitch black, but lit with this yellow, dim, almost sickly glow. The air was stale. The floor beneath me was carpeted, but it was old, worn, frayed at the edges, stained in places. I stepped out, assuming maybe there had been some kind of renovation going on. But the signage on the wall? It looked like something out of the 1980s. Faded plastic nameplates, with names and departments I'd never heard of. One said, Regional Media Filing Dept. 4C. We didn't have anything called that. Then I noticed the room numbers. They were wrong. Out of order. 104, then 376, then 4 beta. No logic. No flow. I walked down the hallway slowly, starting to feel unnerved. It was dead quiet. No voices. No printers. No footsteps. Just the soft buzzing of those ancient ceiling lights. I turned the corner and looked for the stairwell door, the one that's always next to the break room. But instead of a stairwell, there was nothing. Just a solid concrete wall, unpainted, unmarked. Like a door had once been there, but someone sealed it shut permanently. I turned around quickly to go back to the elevator. It was gone. Not just closed, gone. No doors. No frame. Just a smooth wall where I had entered minutes before. That's when the panic hit. My heart started pounding. I felt dizzy, like the air was getting thinner. I opened one of the nearby office doors in desperation. The room inside was completely empty. No desks. No windows. Just dust and a lone chair facing the wall. I backed out slowly. It felt like something, or someone, was watching. But there was no one. I started walking fast. I turned a corner, then another. And then, suddenly, I was back. Just like that. Standing in the real 4th floor hallway. Bright lights. White tiles. Coworkers walking around casually, sipping coffee. The elevator was behind me. Doors still open. It felt like no time had passed. I stumbled to my desk, pale and shaken. My coworker looked up and said, "Everything okay? You just came up from lunch, right?" I nodded, unsure of what to say. Later, I checked the building directory. No Department 4C. No beta rooms. No carpeted hallways. And no history of renovations on the 4th floor. I told a few people. They laughed, said I must have dreamed it. But I didn't. I know what I saw. And I know what I felt. That place wasn't abandoned. It wasn't old. It felt like a version of the building that either never got finished, or maybe shouldn't have existed at all. A half-rendered layer. A corrupted level. Like the elevator dropped me into a forgotten version of reality. Since that day, I only take the stairs. Story 7. The time slip in the mirror. It started like any other morning. I got out of bed, half asleep, shuffled into the bathroom, and flipped on the light. The brightness stung my eyes. I remember squinting, letting out that first groggy yawn as I grabbed my toothbrush. Just a normal day. Or so I thought. I stood in front of the mirror, brushing my teeth. Nothing dramatic. Just watching myself out of habit, the way you do when your brain is still waking up. And then, something shifted. It was subtle at first, almost like déjà vu. I dropped my toothbrush. Or at least, I saw myself drop it. It hit the sink and rolled sideways. But the weird part, I was still holding it. I hadn't moved. I was just standing there, brushing. I blinked hard, confused. My reflection was ahead of me, like it was acting out a moment that hadn't happened yet. And then, 2 seconds later, I actually dropped the toothbrush. Same angle. Same roll. Same clatter in the sink. I backed away from the mirror, staring. It wasn't lagging. It wasn't behind. It was ahead. Like it knew what I was about to do. Like it was playing a tape 2 seconds faster than reality. My skin prickled. I stood there frozen, not wanting to move, not wanting to see what it might show next. I raised my right hand slowly. My reflection raised it, just before I did. Then I blinked, and everything reset. Perfectly normal. 1-to-1. No delay. No jump. Like it never happened. I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was tired. Maybe my brain lagged and not the mirror. Some kind of visual misfire, right? But the feeling didn't go away. It wasn't a trick of the eyes. I know what I saw. I saw myself do something before I did it. For those few seconds, the mirror wasn't a reflection. It was a preview, a tiny ripple in time. Since then, it's happened twice more. Once when I dropped my comb again, saw it fall before it actually did. And once when I yawned, my reflection did it just before I even opened my mouth. I've stopped staring into the mirror too long, because I can't help but wonder. What if one day, the reflection does something I don't? What if it moves when I don't? What if the version in the mirror becomes its own self, separate from me? I don't think it's just a glitch. I think mirrors are thin spots, fragile windows where time bends ever so slightly. And some mornings, if you're unlucky enough, you catch a sliver of a future you that's already acting. Not a delay, but a leak. From a timeline running just ahead of yours. The real question is, who's in control? Story 8. The cat that died twice. Luna was more than a pet. She was family. We had her since I was 9 years old. A soft gray tabby with deep amber eyes, a calming purr, and a tiny notch missing from her left ear. That little tear had always been there, ever since she got into a scrap with the neighbor's dog when she was a kitten. By the time I reached college, Luna was old. Her pace had slowed. Her meows were quieter. She'd sleep most of the day under my mom's armchair or curl up in the laundry basket, warm and content. Then one evening, she vanished. It wasn't like her. She never wandered far. But we searched the entire house, the yard, the street. We called her name. Shook the treat bag. No response. The next morning, my mom found her collar, just the collar, lying under the maple tree in our backyard. No blood, no fur, just the frayed pink strap, with her name tag still dangling. We assumed the worst. There were foxes in the area. Hawks. Coyotes. We told ourselves she must have wandered too far and something happened. My mom was devastated. She buried the collar beneath that same maple tree, lit a small candle. I remember standing there, watching her cry, holding the little tag that once jingled on Luna's neck. We mourned. We moved on. Kind of. Then, 2 days later, I came downstairs and froze. Because Luna walked into the kitchen, tail high. Same graceful walk. Same little tear in the left ear. She let out her soft meow, looked right at me, and rubbed against my leg like nothing had happened. I screamed. My mom ran in, dropped her coffee when she saw her. "Luna," she whispered. She scooped her up, hands shaking. It was her. Same markings. Same gentle purr. We took her to the vet immediately, just to be sure. They scanned her chip. Confirmed it. Yes, this is Luna. No signs of trauma. No indication she'd been hurt or taken. Just a healthy, elderly cat. Same as always. We had no explanation. We convinced ourselves she must have gotten trapped somewhere, maybe in someone's shed, and found her way back. Strange, yes, but plausible, right? Until 3 weeks later. My dad was cleaning under the wooden shed in our backyard when he found something. A cat's body. Decomposed. Curled up in the corner. Same gray fur. Same size. Same markings. Only one detail was different. The collar was missing. Completely bare. We buried it in silence. No one spoke for a long time. Because it looked exactly like Luna. Down to the tear in the ear. But Luna, our Luna, was still alive. Sitting inside. Purring on my mom's lap. It was like we were staring at a copy. Or a failed version. That's when it hit me. What if Luna did die? What if the simulation couldn't process the loss, couldn't handle the grief, and so it glitched? Reloaded her. Restored the asset. Dropped a perfect replica into our world. But in its haste, it forgot to delete the old file. The failed render. The original body. What if what came back wasn't really Luna? But close enough that we wouldn't ask too many questions? Some nights, I catch Luna staring at that maple tree for minutes at a time. Silent. Still. Unblinking. And I wonder, is she remembering something? Or is she waiting for the next glitch? Story 9. The Vanishing Car. It was just past midnight. I was driving home from a friend's place, taking the long, quiet route that cuts through the industrial district. No traffic. Just silence and the soft hum of my engine under the orange glow of scattered streetlights. The road ahead was straight for miles. No intersections. No exits. Just a stretch of concrete and darkness. That's when I saw it. A blue sedan stopped at the red light ahead. I slowed to a halt behind it. I remember noticing the details. A cracked taillight on the left. A yellow bumper sticker that read, "Keep Earth Weird." Small scratches on the rear bumper looked like someone had backed into a pole. The car idled there for about 20 seconds. Then, the light turned green. The sedan slowly accelerated forward, just like any normal car would. Its brake lights faded, and I followed, easing off the brake. And then, it vanished. Not sped away, not turned, not hidden in fog or darkness. Like a switch had been flipped. One moment it was there, solid, detailed, real. The next, the road ahead was completely empty. I blinked hard. My mind raced. Had it turned somewhere? No, there were no side streets, no alleyways, not for another half-mile. Just solid fencing on the left, a warehouse on the right, and dead straight road ahead. I hit the brakes. Hard. Pulled over. Got out. Walked a few feet forward, scanning every inch of the road with my flashlight. No tire marks. No skid. No glass. No engine sound in the distance. Just eerie, heavy silence. It was like the car had never existed. Like someone had cut it out of the scene mid-frame. I checked the timestamp on my dashcam later, and it was there. Sort of. The video showed me stopping behind something. But the object is just a flicker, like a blurry shape, and then nothing. No sedan, no sticker, no car moving forward. Just black road and confusion. My stomach turned. Because I know what I saw. I remember the scratches, the bumper sticker, the left tail light blinking slightly faster. A car doesn't just blink out of existence. Not in our world. Not in our laws of physics. Yes. Unless it was never really meant to be there. A background element, part of a simulation. A placeholder the system forgot to remove, or one that despawned too early due to a rendering error. Maybe I wasn't supposed to see it disappear. Maybe I looked too closely, paid too much attention. Maybe that's when the cracks begin to show. And now, every time I drive that same stretch of road, I feel like something is watching, like the simulation is trying a little harder not to make mistakes in front of me. But I'm watching, too. Story 10. The store that shouldn't exist. It was the second day of our road trip. Just me and my younger brother, blasting music, eating chips, and arguing over who picked the worst playlist. We were somewhere in the middle of nowhere, that long, empty stretch of desert highway where the GPS glitches and the next town is over an hour away. We were low on gas and water, and the sun was brutal. Then, out of nowhere, we saw it. A small gas station appeared on the horizon. Faded sign, a single rusted pump, and beside it, a tiny convenience store with flickering neon letters that simply read, "Grocery." We pulled in, grateful. No other cars, no people, just the wind whistling against the cracked windows. Inside was weird. Old metal shelves, dusty and uneven. The candy bars looked ancient, faded wrappers with logos I hadn't seen since I was a kid. Like Butterfinger Buzz and Wonka bars. Stuff that had been discontinued years ago. The fridge buzzed loud, holding glass bottles of soda, the kind with pull caps. I glanced around, feeling uneasy. The whole place smelled sterile, like it had been preserved, not cleaned. Then there was the cashier. A man, maybe late 50s, standing perfectly still behind the counter. Beige shirt, blank expression. He never blinked, never spoke, not even when we greeted him. Just watched. My brother and I picked out 2 sodas and a bag of chips. Paid in cash, because there was no card reader. The man took our money with robotic motion, handed back a receipt, and placed the items in a brown paper bag. Still, no words. We left quickly, unsettled but trying to laugh it off. Then, standing outside next to the car, I looked at the receipt. It said, "Grocery. Date, 17th June 1997. Total, $3.05. No address, no store number, no branding, nothing else." I froze. "Hey," I said, holding it out to my brother. "Check the date." He stared. We both looked back at the store. But the store was gone. I mean, completely gone. In its place was a vacant lot, overgrown with weeds. A crumbling foundation where a building might have once stood, but nothing there now. No sign, no pump, no structure. I sprinted across the gravel. There was no door, no trash, not even tire tracks. We had just walked out of that store 5 minutes ago, soda bottles in hand. Now, it was as if it never existed. We stood there in silence, the sun beating down. The only sound the clink of glass bottles in the bag. Back in the car, we didn't speak for a long time. Even now, I keep that receipt in my wallet. It hasn't faded. It's real paper, real ink. The only proof that we were ever there. I've Googled that stretch of road. No gas stations, not for 80 miles in either direction. Some say we hallucinated, that we were tired, sunstruck. But that doesn't explain the items in our hands. The exact change from my wallet. The timestamp on my phone, synced with reality. Look, I think we stumbled into a leftover render. An environment that once existed, maybe decades ago, still stored somewhere in the background of the simulation. Like an old video game map left on the server. Forgotten, but still accessible. And somehow, for a brief moment, we accessed it. A place not meant to be visited anymore. A place the Matrix didn't expect anyone to find. Now, every time I drive long highways or pass abandoned buildings, I wonder, what if I stop again? Will the store return? And next time, will we be allowed to leave?